It happens.
Hi, lovely lady. How are you doing?
Technical
I'm
confusion
okay.
land.
I'm doing the best I can, hanging in there and staying busy.
Yes, we can completely relate to that. It's like inventing all new projects all the time.
hmm
Yeah.
Almost. It's kind of easy to do, though. I mean, I think about that aspect of quarantine, like how lucky we are as artists. There aren't enough hours in the day,
Yes.
you
No.
know?
That is true, actually. I feel like I can relate to that. Uh, My project binder of ideas is overflowing.
hmm
Yes.
Yeah, and I have, I was just having such a hard time thinking about what I'm going to show you and talk to you about today. I'm working on so many projects at the same time, and I feel really greedy because I just want to show you everything, but
I
I
mean,
don't think I can.
you can show us as much as you possibly can fit in. I am really open to that. We have like we've mentioned a few times now that like when we started this, like well, one, we didn't really anticipate this, being over almost a year now.
Mhm.
And so when we like pitched the idea to Josh and we're like, let's pull work out of our flat files, like I mean, we're a pretty small shop and we don't ask printmakers to leave things. Like
Yep.
if people leave things, great. If they don't, they don't. And that's fine. That's not like part of our mandate, because we really like want to be artists first. Like that's, and we don't just have printmakers here. So it always felt a bit weird being like, hey, printmaker, you have to leave us art, but painter, you don't, and writer, you don't,
Right.
and musician, you don't. And like, just seemed wildly unfair.
Yeah.
And so yeah, our resources for show content are like really depleting. Like we still have a little stack of like, hey, these are, we pulled out in the initial, like, this is the stuff we want to see. But like, if you have lots to share, we can just, only share a few things. that is
Some of
okay.
you guys have too. You know what? It sounds like it might be time for you guys to organize a print exchange so you can get a big pile of prints in your mailbox.
We were talking about that
Yeah.
with Phoebe. Yeah.
Maybe a print exchange this summer. Spring, summer.
Yeah.
God, that's another project. I'm like thinking about all the things in my head that I'm like, okay, I want to do this video series and I want to work on this. And then we have these things coming up and these things. And then, that's summer. Like I have free time, summertime.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, you won't have free time then either.
No.
Not at all.
No, we just fill the calendar with other things. Well, it's so
I
nice
just want to take a
see you.
second to look at your faces. Ah, you guys are
I
beautiful.
know.
It's so nice to see you.
It's so nice to see you too. Oh, my sister's messaging. Don't message, sister.
I have been teaching remotely.
Maybe we
from
can
my
get you to
studio.
introduce yourself, and where you're
Sure.
located. Let's do that first, just so that
Yeah.
the people that are hanging out with us can know who you are.
Yeah.
Right, because it's not just us. Hi,
I
everyone.
know.
Thank you for coming. I'm Rebecca Gilbert. On Instagram, I'm Rebecca_print, PRINT. I'm in Philadelphia, and more specifically, I'm in South Philly, and I am a printmaker. Work mostly in multiple block and reduction color woodcut. For that, I work not huge as far as art goes, but for woodcut, kind of big. And then I also work in wood engraving, which is really, really, really tiny. I am drawn to both of those processes for so many reasons. Mostly it has to do with the process itself and all the space within that process for your ideas to kind of grow and simmer and evolve and change as you're working. I love process-based artwork because you spend so much time like developing your idea before you even get started, but there's still so much room for decision making along the way that the work always feels fresh and changes with you as it goes. I'll never forget, I gave myself goosebumps talking about printmaking just now.
I love it. Well, I think
And the
too,
creative
like
process.
your work, you know, if I were to like describe, especially the work you did here, and I think like you kind of inspired me to like woodcut a lot more than I ever did, and to see it as like a launch pad into different ways of thinking about print. Because you'll take like a woodcut and you'll transform it into these like moving, like literally moving objects. And then also, I don't know what that it's called, the piece that you did where you, the person, moved and changed the visuals. I know that that has a name and I don't remember what it is.
Yeah, it is called, how am I blanking on it right now? I talk about it and talk about it and talk about it. I'll tell you in a minute.
Okay.
I was going to try to show you that today. I was thinking about trying to show pieces that are tough to take still photographs of for
Oh
my
yeah.
website.
Oh.
And that's one piece. So I actually hung it on my wall, but you'll see my studio is so tiny. It is tough to maneuver in here. So I don't know if you can get the full effect or not, plus reflective lights, but I'll try to show it to you.
I think like we talked with our friend Mikey last week, and he also has a very small workspace, and I think that that's actually so nice to see, and like print even more so, because I even like we have lots of space, and now it feels like we have like maybe too much space for two people, but we fill it up.
Never.
It's fine.
I was gonna say no way.
But like I like have this vision that I need tons and tons of space, but usually when I'm actually working, I like make myself claustrophobic because I just like crowd myself. I'm driving Kyle bananas right now because we've both been really working in the office together, and I can't just focus on one thing at a time. Like I need to be sort of surrounded by too much. So I like have brought in another table into our like tiny office, so that I can have like one workstation for this idea, then an area where my computer is, then the area with all the paper cutting. Like
Exactly.
it's chaos.
Exactly. You just described my studio, so now when I show it to you, I don't even have to describe it. That's exactly how it is. I even have a table set up in the middle of the studio right now that has leaves on it that I can fold up and fold down. So when I need to prepare paper or just spread things out and look at it, I can. And then it's usually open, honestly, and piled with stuff. But when I need space, I can, fold it up and roll it to the side.
Love it. Well, let's go on a tour.
Okay. I was just noticing and going to mention that I started to say earlier, I've been teaching remotely from my studio. Oh, and I forgot to mention that when I introduced myself too. I teach printmaking at the University of the Arts and a couple other places. I just bought a ring light. I thought it would be good for my demos. And this is the first time I used it, like with my camera in the center, and I just see how glowy. So
They're nice.
This whole ring light was such a mystery to me. Okay, so do you guys know if I can? I can.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was
you can
gonna say.
flip it.
Excellent. I wonder if I can even switch. Well,
So is this in your home?
no. So
Okay.
I'm glad you asked though, because I do have a studio in my home too. So this studio, come in the front door. This studio is a block away from my home, which is important to me that I'm close to home. It's, most days I try to spend hours in here, but some days you can only go to the studio. Trying to get this ring light out of the way now. Even for a few minutes, it just makes you feel better, or if you forget a tool.
Yeah.
So, you were talking about all these workspaces. So this table over here, try not to move too quickly. Piles and piles is the story of my life. I spend so much time just like rearranging my piles and carrying them back and forth. But this table here, this desk is where I would do a lot of my drawing and wood engraving. So here I have piles of blocks waiting for Dance of Death images. Here we have many blocks already carved. I don't reprint them after I edition them, but after hours and hours of carving, I just can't
No, you can't.
bring myself to get rid of them.
Of
Maybe I could
course
alter
not.
them and repurpose them someday.
I,
There's an Erin.
I was talking to, hi, Erin Pitcher. I was talking to someone at one point who had mentioned, I don't know if it was a resident or a professor. Anyways, doesn't really matter. But I was talking about how, like, when you have plates, it's so hard to know what the hell to do with them. And they were saying that they once saw an etcher turn like all of their etching plates into basically like a copper sink for their bathroom. So they had like, I don't know if they just like nailed them onto a surface. I don't know exactly how it was done, but essentially they created a copper counter out of used copper etchings, which I was like, that is wicked.
That sounds amazing.
Right? So, I mean, you could do something
like
that.
Materials.
Yeah. Anyways.
So I guess I'll just zoom around here, then we can back up and look at some stuff. These are some of my wood engraving editions. After I print my editions, I make these archival little boxes so I can organize and store them safely.
Love it.
This is my Dremel. I have a router Benedict that I use to remove large areas of wood. So for wood engraving, I'll see how I can zoom in on one of these. You know, you can make these really, really fine lines that I carve with hand tools. But the most difficult part of wood engraving is when you want to remove a large area like this background. And I used to feel like I needed to be a purist and just, torture myself through it. But life is really short and I have lots of projects. So I just use this router and it does a better, safer job clearing out those big spaces. Everything else I do by hand.
I 100% respect that.
I have this little baby platen press that I bought recently. I just bought some rollers for it too, but I haven't used it yet.
Nice.
So I'm trained in printmaking and book arts is what I studied in grad school. It's my little corner rounder. So I do some book binding,
what is
some book
that?
conservation.
It's a corner rounder.
It's a corner rounder.
I've
oh my
never,
God.
I don't know what that is.
I'll do a demo. So it's kind of funny because, it's like this big I can't even, again, my studio is so small. It's this big freestanding contraption, right? It's like this big thing.
That's humongous.
But let me show you what it does. This huge thing. So here I have a business card.
Yeah.
And so I'm just going to put it in here in this little die cutter.
Okay.
Let me make sure it's placed. I'm trying to, and then
foot stomp.
a little pedal.
This thing's serious.
I know. And then it comes down and holds your piece in place. Obviously, I could put several in at the same time. And now, instead of a boring old business card, I have a fancy object with a round corner.
That is such a giant tool.
Well, they do make them much smaller now. But this antique one, I'm sure was made not for a person like little old me, but more for, a job printer that's rounding corners on thousands of things. This is my pile of things that I put out to maybe talk about today.
Amazing.
This is, again, my piles are vertical and horizontal. They lean across the wall.
This makes me so happy.
Carved blocks, framed prints stored, waiting for their next show. Some book presses here.
Can you go back to the big blocks for a second? I just want people to see how big some of these woodcuts are. Because I think it's hard sometimes, especially when you're looking at things online, to really grasp the size and scale. So you had those tiny little ones where many are fitting into a very small little shelf on a desk. And then we have these blocks that are some of them are probably 2 by 3 or something, or?
Yeah. Some of them are even bigger than that.
Love it.
I can pull any of these prints out to show. Oh, here, while I'm standing up and squeezing in this corner, well, let's see if I can show you this. So, well, I'll come back to that. I'll come back.
It's like those old holograms.
Yeah. Here, I'll try. So here is the first image. This is working pretty well.
Yeah, so it's the two swans.
It's two swans. And then it's a true love, right?
Yeah.
Forever. And then this is the name of the piece, which is Cyclops. So this is, you know, when you touch your forehead to someone and your their eyes turn into one giant Cyclops eye.
I mean, can I say that I've ever done that? No, but I get it in principle.
As soon as you get off this call, you and Kyle just do it. You'll just touch foreheads and look lovingly into one another's eyes. And yeah, they will just, your binocular vision will turn into, you know, I guess just one big eye.
Yeah.
Morgan knows. Morgan also shared someone that did something cool with their prints or blocks after, but I didn't read it fast enough.
Okay, cool. So that's a Cyclops eye.
Love it.
And so this is, you know, you found your true love, and then this is like ultimate fusion, right?
Mm-hmm.
Love, closeness, and then at the end is the memento mori, so the two skulls.
It's so good.
Of death. And I can show you these prints up close because there's so much detail and texture and things like that. There's a little woodcut cut out there.
Love it. Yeah, your work is like, I remember when you were here and we talked a lot about just how in love with woodcut you are, and how like that like passion and drive to just like put all of that love and devotion into the work. Like, it's not just about like making an image to tell an idea. It's also like working with the material as much as you can and pushing it as hard as you can, and just like pouring all of that like appreciation for the practice into each print, which I adored that.
Yeah, because, you know, one question that I think about, and, you know, as an artist and also as a professor is like, does it have to be a print? You know, I love printmaking so much. I just want everything I make to be a print. So I'm like, could it be something else? How would it be different if it wasn't a print?
Mm-hmm.
My answer is it does. It has to at least start as a print. It has, and, you know, it goes back to the way I think works with the process. But it doesn't have to end at being a print. That's the thing. Or it doesn't have to be an edition. So there's my ink storage. I print not mostly, I print completely using oil-based inks. It's my big inking slab. It's piled with stuff I haven't printed in over a week. So
Still satisfying.
yeah. So that's my desk I started with over there. I have a dedicated desk for carving wood engraving in my house that is always set up with blocks on it. And because of my space limitations here, I have been carving my wood engravings pretty exclusively at home. And unless I have an early morning class, I carve every morning and every evening for at least an hour. In the morning I have coffee, in the evening I have beer and whiskey. I don't have whiskey every day. Like every other day I have whiskey. I do have beer every day.
That's such a dedicated practice. I'm so proud of that.
Everyone's putting on the weight from baking bread, but I'm only putting on the weight from drinking the beer and the whiskey.
Well, you know, you get, at least your arms are getting toned from the, you know, engraving.
They are. I'm getting exercise. So when I'm carving my wood blocks, I usually carve right on the press. And so this is a piece that I'm working on right now. And this is actually, so the piece I showed you with the swans and the eye and the skulls, those individual pieces were meant as a series to go together. You know, thematically, they, you know, all are made to relate to one another.
Hmm.
The series was intended to only be 3. And the piece, I'll just point my camera up to it again since I'm talking about it. It's about, love and relationships and mortality, but it's also about perception, which is why it's, cut up and put into this box. So you think about how you're looking at things and how you're thinking about things.
Mm-hmm.
And when I finished it, I really felt like the 3 pieces, like it was solid and complete and done. The piece, I always make my work from a personal place, but also for my viewers. I try to be really not selfish about it. I think about where's the access point for other people.
Mm-hmm.
But this piece also is very personal, and my husband died a little over a year ago, as you guys know, but
Yeah.
the other folks here might not. So I'm making a 4th piece in this series that stands alone, and it releases some of the smaller wood engravings that I was making at the same time that I made those woodcuts. So I call this spirit horns.
Oh.
I made a spirit horn lithograph for the mixed grit project earlier this year. But I knew that I needed to make one the same size and color to go with this. So this is Naren, and the spirit come down, and this is me. And then I think about, I think there are a few different cultures that talk about, I don't know, like spirits being 2 parts that are connected and tethered by some kind of thread. And at some point the thread is cut, and then you try to find each other to tie back together. So here I have like the cyclical movement that I'm trying to show the camera. I really like talking about my work of the movable camera. Actually, I've never
It's
done that.
nice.
But it's also like a lot of it's carved away so you can't see, but it's like an old-fashioned phone cord too.
Wait,
Because in a
Rebecca,
way,
is that part raised? What part's
well,
raised and
it's
what part's lowered?
so I've for now, because this is a multiple block reduction, the part here, this is carved away. This is just the drawing on here right now.
Ah, okay.
But yeah, I was thinking of these forms like spirit horns to speak through to another dimension, or like ear horns, like the
Yeah.
old-fashioned ear horns you stick in your ear to hear. And then I was also thinking about when you would make those toy telephones out of like old soup cans and stuff.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
so I was thinking, and of course cornucopias and bounties and things like that. So I was thinking about all those things. So since I just talked about this, I'll show you how the print looks right now.
How
It
many
needs a
blocks is it
few
gonna?
more
Whoa.
layers. Well, it was 2 blocks that I was reducing. Come in. I don't know how my phone's gonna focus
It's
here.
doing so
Oh
good.
my gosh. Wow.
But so I think I only have to carve and print 2 or maybe 3 more layers on here. But
I like how nonchalantly you're like 2, maybe 3 more layers,
well, it's funny. Like that's how I worked. Like I used to set out, I would plan and I would be like, this is going to be a 5-layer woodcut, and this is what color each of the layers is going to be. But now it's more like a rough idea of the colors and a definite idea of the plan.
Yeah.
And then I just carve away a little bit and a little bit and print a layer and kind of react to what's there. Um, find a cool spot for the my little phone. There it is.
Oh my gosh. I love
Where
it.
and it
Yeah.
changes colors as it goes around. So what I'm trying to do now is you can see I have this dark layer that I just kind of like dabbed around
Yeah.
the forms. And then this like looks a little bit shitty right now. So that's what I need to work on next. But what I want to do, like, I don't know if it's coming through, like you can see a little bit of color coming through that background.
Yeah.
So I want that to be even more subtle, but not to disappear. So I'm going to print a really, this is my plan. This is what I'm going to try to do. Maybe tomorrow, I'm going to print a really transparent black mixed with gold over this.
Oh.
So when you first look at it, it all looks black except darker around the forms. We'll
Oh
see.
man.
Yeah, those stories really resonating with folks, and yeah, the print is amazing.
I'll show you a
That's
couple
so
of
lovely.
couple details of these other images. You know, the
Morgan Weatherspoon is asking, is it a subtle rainbow roll that you've applied to that last print?
yes, it's a whole excellent question. It's a whole bunch of subtle rainbow rolls, printed in layers in different directions with lots of transparent base. And for the most part, and actually I use the same strategy here, instead of the rainbow rolls blending into other colors, I have them blending into nothing. So they just fade out into white. So that way I can control a little more. This is the whites of the eyes, actually have a lot of color in them.
Yeah.
A lot of color in the
Can you just like
iris.
stop for like a sec just so
Yeah.
that you can appreciate all the like small lines that are in the
Mm.
iris there? Because it's wild.
Mhm.
It's so, I really love this. When you put that, you do have a really good video of it online of this
Do
piece.
I?
Yeah, you do. It's really, really good. I think you posted it whenever the show was. It was a while ago.
Okay. Yeah, that was about a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
So here's,
Macy, she does rock. I
hi,
agree.
Macy. I love you, Macy. I do.
Is this on craft paper? I really love that like flatness that the brown is giving in contrast to
Yeah.
the work.
Oh yeah, no, that is
It's gold, I think.
layers. That's printed. Yeah, it's layers and layers of printed ink. This is printed on Zircon litho paper because it's the only paper I could find thick enough and large enough that had the grain in the right direction, because I felt like to build this piece, it was important that the grain of the paper was vertical.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
See, how are we doing for time?
Oh, I guess we should probably, we're doing all right.
It's 12:30. We have about
Yeah.
half an hour left before Instagram decides to kick us off.
Yeah.
So like,
Oh, that's what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll just literally shut off. Like, we'll get a warning on our end being like, you have this many minutes left.
yeah.
Okay.
But like
That's really good to
there's
know.
no pressure to move on. This is wonderfully interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have to talk about everything I do, but I will just talk about it a little. Well, I had talked about kind of the contrast between the woodcut and the wood engraving and the scale, and how I've been thinking about perception, both in terms of like scientifically, like the science of optics and how we see, but also how on a personal and cognitive level, we all perceive of things in our own way related to our own points of reference. So I've been making some less representational optical art, and I can show you one carved block over here that's pretty trippy. It's kind of hard to look at, but
Oh, wow. Yeah.
it almost like starts moving on its own. I can't personally look at. I had to cover parts of it up while I was carving. Some pieces I've worked on have actually made me kind of nauseous while I was working on it. But that's not my end goal, to make people nauseous, but just to kind of play with and help people think about seeing. So I carved these wood engraving blocks about a year ago, and I haven't printed any of them yet. But they're thinking about these little, like, simple illusions.
Yeah.
So I'm holding off to print them until I make these 4 large color woodcuts that do 4 other optical illusions. And then the 4 will be printed as a group, and then the other 4 will be printed as a group. and then they'll be presented together, and somehow they'll live on their own, and they'll relate.
Well, they're all having the same conversation, so, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the technique that I'm using, I don't know if this shows up, like these will be reduction color woodcuts too.
Okay.
And the technique I'm using to reduce at least the first few layers is, and that's why this is taped up, instead of just carving away the first layer, I'm blocking off areas and using a hard wire brush to brush with the direction of the grain of the wood.
Oh.
And so it'll selectively bring up the wood grain. So what I don't brush should print really solid. And this should look all grainy. And actually, that's what I did on this piece.
Oh.
I was wondering how you brought the grain out like that so much.
Yeah, so, everything else just looks normal. And then this is all bright and light and grainy.
Yeah.
That
is cool.
That's really wonderful how like you're using the materials to elevate it a little bit further than just a regular reduction type. Like super cool that you're using the wire brush.
Thanks. I really like it. I haven't been getting enough exercise during this pandemic.
Well, you're lifting blocks, you know.
I know. So you're gonna be drinking beer every day. You need to get some exercise. But yeah, it's really physical and it feels good to do it. So I do want to see what you guys have, but I'm just gonna real quick, because you mentioned it when you were advertising my studio visit.
Yes. Yeah, somebody I think posted being like, what's next? So usually we will do like a back and forth show and tell, but because Kyle and I are getting like low on art to show and tell, we're now asking our guests to give us a studio tour because I think, people don't get a lot of access to these spaces, and they're always, as you can see, filled with wonderful and amazing and inspiring things. And maybe it's the voyeur nosy person in me, but I love seeing how people have spaces set up and feeling a kinship with piles. That is always comforting.
I know. That's one of my favorite things of, visiting any studio or like going to SGC and you get to see like, oh, they have their tarlatans hanging on a rack. Oh, they have theirs wadded up in a bin. Oh. Yeah. And same, for the Sparkbox studio, I aspire to someday have all those countertops with storage underneath it, like you do.
When you were talking about tables earlier, and I think my ideal workspace, it's like if you've ever watched the show Parks and Rec, there's an episode where they shove one of the main characters into like a donut-shaped desk, and I really feel like that's kind of what I want. I just want a spinny chair and then just desk in every direction around me.
I love it.
That's my ideal workspace.
It was like Ron's nightmare by the show.
When you get that magical desk, could you get Chrissy to take a picture of you sitting in the middle of it and send it to me? I want to see you in the middle of that desk. So these blocks have all been printed, and just here's my hand for a sense of scale. They're pretty small.
Yeah.
Once they're printed, all the detail is still in there and I could still print them, but so these were printed on a different type of press from my etching press. I have a proof press in what used to be my living room now that I print on. And my pod consists of two people, my friends Jake and Denise, and she has a Vandercook. And so I've been going out there once a week to print with her.
Nice.
But once you print, you really can't see the detail anymore because the ink kind of soaks in and stains the block. But I do have, this block is of the gamer. So the project is that I'm carving all 41 of Hans Holbein the Younger's Dance of Death blocks. So this is one from, oh my God, I'm blanking on all of my stats. I don't want to say the wrong year, but I'm recarving all of them to the exact same scale and everything. But I'm also making 41 of my own. And for the Holbein ones, I am being really, like I said, specific to the scale. For mine, I'm I'm still staying very small. The paper size is the same for all 82 prints, but I'm allowing mine to be slightly bigger in different sizes. Honestly, I'm worried I'm going to make myself go blind with this project.
Yep.
So,
You need one of those ring light magnifying glass
She's got the
lights.
visor. I saw that
have
sitting on the
one.
desk.
I
The
yeah,
goggles.
I actually have several. I have different styles because one of them hurts my head and one of them hurts my nose and one of them hurts my ears. So
To
Perfect.
just cycle the
right.
pain.
So yeah, I switch when part of me starts hurting from one, I switch to another. So
What brought
um,
this project on? Like,
um,
it's very specific.
yeah, on low power mode. Many things. Part of it is I'm really interested in themes that last through art history, that have a fresh life every time they're re-explored. Like they're worth re-exploring. And the Dance of Death has lasted hundreds of years.
Mhm.
And as an educator, I always talk about the history of printmaking and the history of relief printmaking. And when I'm talking about the history of relief printing, I always show Holbein's Dance of Death series because it gives me an opportunity to talk about the role of the printmaker and how through time and even now, the artist doesn't always do the carving and the carver doesn't always do the printing.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's the same person, sometimes they're all different. So I know Holbein's Dance of Death series, we actually know the form Schneider that printed it. And every time I would show that during that part of the PowerPoint, I would think, I wish I was Hans Lutzelberger. I wish I got to carve all those blocks for Holbein. And then I thought, what's stopping me? I can do it if I want to. And I can make my own and carve and print those too.
These are great.
We have a good
Thanks.
question about how the 82 prints are going to be presented.
Oh, excellent question. So since there are 82 images, I'm making editions of 82 of each individual image.
Oh my
And
Glad you're using that Vandercook.
Jesus.
yeah, I know. So numbers 1 through 41 from each edition, I am saving. I just have to share with you. I'm squatted down on my floor right now because my phone went into low power mode.
I love it.
And this was the closest outlet that I panicked to come to. But numbers 1 through 41, I'm putting aside, and those will go into box sets. So I'll make clamshell boxes to put them in, and hopefully find a few patrons that want to buy the complete set. The second half of each edition, I'm just selling a la carte. And actually, you can go through my website, rebeccaprint.com. I have a little shop that I've just been adding them, 1 or 2 every couple of weeks as they're ready.
Sweet. That's awesome.
So do we have, I told you I was feeling so greedy and now I feel really guilty about it. Can we have time so we can see what you brought?
Sure. Yeah, I don't want you to feel greedy at all. That was like such an absolute treat. I really loved every second of that. So no need to feel greedy.
Oh, thank you. I wanted to show you some of the things that I started at Sparkbox years ago because they're so different now that they're finished. But maybe once you work through a bunch of artists, maybe next year we can do it again.
That sounds wonderful.
Well, I mean, we do this every week, so we can have we've brought Josh back 3 times now because it's just
cool.
like
That's good to
so
know.
we don't have any qualms with doing part 2.
Cool.
So yeah, we can definitely jump back on together. So yeah, one of the pieces that we brought, just kind of sticking with the letterpress theme, I don't know if you saw this at one of the SGCs. I don't remember which one it was that we got this. So this is from Firecracker Press. No idea if
Yeah.
they continued with this concept or not. But at the time, they had printed this map to do a like letterpress tour. So sort of like a self when we used to be able to drive around and visit places. Remember those days?
Uh-huh.
What a wild
Yep.
time that was.
I look forward to maybe if that ever happens again. Wait, what's that on the back?
So
Yeah.
they made this map of,
Mhm.
I'm sorry, it's backwards, but it's
Ugh.
all the different print shops in kind of like, I guess, that Midwest area. At least I think
Mhm.
that's Midwest. And they had shops made for all the shops. And so you
Oh,
could visit them and you would get like a stamp for visiting that. And the backside is just like, a space for each one of the shops. And like it was kind of this, it was the Midwest letterpress trail. And it was about
yes.
like just visiting print studios when you could go places.
And we
That's
never did it, which is kind of a disappointment. I mean, we can maybe one day if the shops we all make it through this as printmakers. But just as an object, I also liked at the top they call Canada Canada Land, which I am so happy about.
it's a magical place.
Canada Land sounds like we're a theme park. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I really liked this idea of like creating a tour for shops. And as you know, we live in such a like tourist destination area,
Hmm.
and often like we talk with different people within the municipality about how could we be more integrated into some kind of like tourist experience? And I really personally struggle with that question because I love doing workshops, but I don't think about them as like a tourism opportunity. I think of them as like my favorite workshops are people that are like really interested in learning a process and have a lot of time to commit to learning that process. Like I think that was the part that Kyle and I both liked about teaching at an institution was that you had this kind of time. It wasn't like someone was coming for an hour and they wanted to know how to be a screen printer within an hour, which to me always felt a little like offensive. It was kind of like,
Yeah.
well, especially when people be like, oh, I'm not getting it. Like, oh, this is so frustrating. I don't understand. You're like, well, I mean, I've been doing it for like 13 years and I still, like, it's not, I'm kind of glad that you didn't get it in an hour. I don't know. Maybe that,
I know.
for me, it kind of like breaks my heart because it's sort of like, oh, you think it's that simple? That kind of hurts. And so, we've often talked about like how the shop itself to us feels like an experience. Like just
Hmm.
being in a shop with presses that are hard to find, not really made that much, are so
Well, you mentioned this earlier. It's like going into other studios and being like, that's how you do this? Your setup's a little bit weird. I like mine better, but I really like this part of your studio. I'm really jealous of that thing. And I think like that's kind of like the fun about going into other studios is seeing
yeah.
how other people, because you can print in any sort of environment. It's just
Hmm.
how you prefer to like have that workflow, and it changes from person to person.
Hmm.
It's true. And I think like just the equipment is aesthetically so beautiful and fascinating that like I see them as kind of their own little works of
Hmm.
art. So, anyways, I loved this as an idea. And
I love it too. And it's like, it's been an awful long time since I got a stamp in my passport, but it's addictive, right? Like you get one chop on the back and you're like, I'm ready to go. Kyle, Chrissy, get in the car.
yeah, drive to the Midwest. Oh, yeah, driving. We like drove to Belleville recently and we were like, what? I don't remember how to do this. It's like 30 minutes away.
I know. Going
Yeah.
going any faster than walking feels strange right
Yeah,
now.
it's true. So that was our first like flat file share. And our second one was two pieces by
Wow.
an artist,
Yeah,
Ambivalently Yours. And
awkwardly sit
yes,
halfway.
so
That's what the artist goes by?
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
And this is also by the same artist. If I can like stand up. It says Full of Rage. And
Okay,
it's
stand up there.
Oh, I have been admiring that from the very beginning,
It's
by the way.
amazing.
It's amazing.
So she does like a lot of different pieces. Some of the work is like, affordable wearable art, like this sweater, and other pieces. So this was kind of like a part of a sketch when she was here working as a resident. That was, this wasn't a final piece, but it was part of like an exploration for a much bigger installation. But she also does a lot of online projects, which I think Kyle and I can really like relate to as something that's like inspiring and to work towards, which is like, how do you cultivate community outside of like real spaces? And I think Ambivalently Yours has done an absolutely phenomenal job of doing that. So creating a space where people can have real, personal, intense and beautiful conversations, and then have those conversations explored visually. So she, as her kind of name suggests, talks about the concepts of ambivalence. So how a lot of people kind of live in that in between, where you're not really like mad, but you're not really happy, or you like something, you don't love it, that like space where you are a bit of both. And she also plays around with like, how do you express those kind of intense emotions on both sides in a way that's tender and caring and a little like girlhood-esque, which I just like adore. And so, yeah, she'll often like engage her community in having conversations about like different emotional states of being and how you explore those emotional states, and what are like the two polar ends of those spaces, and how do they relate or not relate to each other, or what's the in-between place of those two states. So yeah, it's really like interesting and gorgeous work, and it's explored in multiple different ways, sometimes by like putting very aggressive thoughts into something that's like playful and joyful, like full of rage inside one of those like guys. It's like this very complex emotion in a really hilarious manner. But then also creating these installations or creating animations that can be viewed digitally. So yeah, I think that her work is really gorgeous. She's been with us on the show before.
Can't remember what episode number.
I can't remember. It was early on, but I can't remember.
How long have you been doing the flat files? For about a year now?
Close
10
to
months, maybe?
Yeah.
I can't remember when our first one is, but this is episode 38. So like it hasn't been quite a year, and I know that we've done them almost every week, except for a couple weeks we took off or our guests kind of fell through.
Yeah.
But it hasn't been a full year yet.
No, it hasn't. But it's been really close. Yeah. So those are two of the shares that we have.
Do I have time to share anything? Because I do have some artist work to share.
Yes, please.
And then are we just going to get hung up on? Is that what's going to happen?
I will give you a warning when Instagram
we'll say goodbye.
Okay. Because I can't see the time while I'm doing this on here. So I'm like, is it almost over? Okay.
We're at 12:50.
Oh, so we're okay.
Yeah.
So I have two pieces here by the same artist. How's the light? Do you need more light, or can you see it? Okay. So these are etchings by Jonathan Beaumont Thomas. He is an artist that lives in Baltimore, and he teaches at Maryland Institute College of Art in Baltimore. And he actually was the chair of the printmaking department until just this semester, and now I think he's the head of something else there. But as you can see, he's an amazing etcher, and this is just the tip of the iceberg, because he really is better known for his multiple plate color etchings, which these two images were designed for. So the last time I saw you guys was at SGC in Texas, and I actually demonstrated printing etchings onto plaster, which is what these are, at SGC. So let me just hold it up so you can see. the dimensionality of it. So
Oh
these are
my
They are
gosh.
not paper.
That
yeah.
is wild.
So
You
I
were
thought
kind
these
of
would.
doing this at our place with the triangle pieces, weren't you?
Oh,
Did
I
I make
might
that up?
have. Well, I've made triangle plaster etchings. I don't remember doing it there, but I might have. Um, so I thought these would be good to show at this time when everyone's working from home and printing for home, because it's a process that you can use to print intaglio without a press at home. And as you can see, get amazing detail. And there's, a complete value structure here. And then just a little more about, this is kind of the content or the way, the images that he made. I know that this piece, to some extent, is about the gaze and seeing. So you have the eyeball and the figures staring off and another figure staring off kind of even behind that. I like it because it has the memento mori in here of the skull rings. And I know that he draws a lot, and the way that he develops these individual images and these series is that he will sit down. Of course, he collects photographs and ideas and mental pictures of things that he sees that just kind of like sticks with him. Then he'll have a drawing session where he just rapidly bangs out these sketches, like 100 sketches in like 20 minutes or something, where he just draws like a fiend. And then he sits and sorts them and puts them together into these groupings and then makes the etchings.
That is
Cool.
awesome. How can you just like briefly explain like how you print on the plaster?
Sure. So you have to use oil-based ink to ink your intaglio plate. And then you just ink it up normally. You put your plate down, and then you need a mold.
Okay.
And so you can do a number of things. You could put your plate in the middle of a plastic container, like an old used food container or something. You could just put your plate in the middle of that, pour plaster on it, flip it upside down after the plaster cures, and pop your plate off, and you got it. The way that I do it and the way that he does it, that you can get this nice, beautiful, even, clean border is, I wonder if I have one handy.
Do you have to
I do.
Vaseline the container? Or does it just pop out? I've only used plaster like a couple times. I can't really remember.
I know that doesn't look very interesting. I'm grabbing something. I want to show you.
It's weird that you can print plaster.
I love that. It's so smooth.
I'm wondering, like, do you use a press? Do you not
No,
use a
you
press?
just pour it in and then you peel it off and it absorbs all the ink. It's genius.
I can't find what I wanted to show you quickly enough, but what I have are just, they're like wooden L's. And
Okay.
then, you know what, I can take a picture of it sometime. Oh, you know what, if you go back, I'll take a picture of it
Okay.
at some point this week, and I'll post it and I'll tag you so you can see. But they're wooden L's that you can like slide and adjust according to the size of your plate and how big a border you want. And then I just use clamps to clamp them together. Pour the plaster on top. So there are a couple, so here's the thing. It's so cool. It seems like it would be really hard to do. But what's really cool about it is that it's not. It's really easy to do.
You're like, here's the thing. Sounds complicated. Truly isn't. Can you do like color, like if you're using like colored ink, does the color come through well in the plaster?
You know what? It does, except, let's see, I guess plaster is made of gypsum.
Yeah.
So certain pigments will react with gypsum. Like I'm assuming yellow, because yellow just reacts with everything.
Yeah.
So that might cause some problems. I know that earth tones work really well and blacks work really well. And I always like to mix like a nice blue black or a nice red black or something instead. And I haven't had any trouble with that. I usually use hydrocal plaster because it's a little harder and just works well. So it's finicky, like it's really easy, but it's a little finicky. So what you want to do is mix your plaster as thick as you can that you can still pour it well.
Okay.
You know, like as thick as you can that it doesn't start getting clumpy. And the other thing is the perfect timing for popping your plate off. So, you know, as plaster cures, it really heats up. And so you want to let it heat up and then you want to let it kind of like go over the top of the hill, right? So it starts to cool down. And once it's like noticeably, definitely cooler, but not cold, that's when you want to pop it off.
Mm.
Cool.
Oh, gonna have to give this a shot. It sounds very fascinating. I like it. All right. Did you have I think we have 7, 8, 9, 10. We have 3 more minutes.
Oh, I do have something else to share.
I had to count on my fingers. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So, you know, Jonathan Thomas, by the way, here, this is his name. I follow him on Instagram, but I tried to find it real quick before I logged on here,
Cool.
and I didn't
Well, I'll
find
get
it.
you to take pictures of things that you've talked about. And then I will hunt people down and share the image and the name. And if I can find the social media info, I will also tag them.
Cool.
Whoa.
Yeah, so this, I do not think this artist is on Instagram. His name is David Moyer from Howler Press, which is located in Pennsylvania. And he works in wood engraving, but I thought it'd be nice to show his work because it doesn't look like your typical wood engraving, and because I've been talking about, you know, woodcut and wood engraving, which are distinctively similar and distinctively different. I thought it'd be nice to show this. Also, you know, this particular piece, I don't know if it's supposed to be like a plague mask
It feels
or
like it,
not
doesn't
for
it?
Feels like it.
sure, but that's what I thought it felt like too. Since I was talking about the dance of death and stuff, I thought it would be, you know, thematically relevant.
Yeah.
But here's another piece by the same artist.
Whoa.
So he also really loves drawing, which I
You
think
could
just
feel that.
shines through. Um, and you know, as a relief artist, I work on my drawings and then I transfer them to the block using tracing paper and then you know, whatever. I have all my carving techniques. He draws directly onto his blocks, and when he carves, he faithfully carves so that it looks like it's drawing. So
So
it's
cool.
funny.
That is
I feel
so
like
beautiful.
in a way, he and I are both fighting the process that we love by trying to, you know, like control it or go against it a little bit. But still, you know, his work looks so much different from mine, and I really admire how free it looks.
Yeah.
So
And the
he,
like fade off lines is like to feel like pen, like especially on the edges of those wings. I
mhm.
really like the way that the line tapers out is so
It's
nice.
so
Yeah,
hard to do.
Oh,
yeah, he's well
we're
intensely skilled, and he is also a letterpress printer and really into philosophy and things like that. And that all makes its way thematically into his work.
Amazing.
so beautiful. Love that. Wow. Oh my gosh.
Thank you so much
This
for this
is
little studio.
Oh,
such
thank
a
you.
fantastic chat.
It was so great to see you. So great to talk art.
It's so
So,
nice to see your space and like all the like I mean you're just yeah, you kind of overflow with different projects and I think your like commitment to just keep making is such a nice thing to see, especially like you know right now where it's hard to have that drive and that push and so it's always inspiring to see someone who does.
Mhm.
you know,
Um
I don't know what I would be doing without that drive and that push. right now, really.
Yeah.
It's a lifesaver.
Oh man. Oh, well, thank you so much
Oh, you're welcome.
being on here with us. And yeah, I'm going to be a bit delayed on sharing things because I have to jump onto another thing right now. But once I'm off that, I will like share this and I'll take pictures of the art that we shared. And if you can send me pictures of the art that you'd shared, that'd be great.
I will.
And yeah, do you want to?
No.
No, Kyle, you do want to share about the Patreon, remember?
Yeah.
We're trying to be more professional about encouraging people to go to our Patreon. We're garbage at it. Just trash at saying it.
It's hard.
It's very hard, but we have started a Patreon, and if anybody watching is not a Patreon, please, it would be wonderful if you became one. It is how we are going to finance our way through making this kind of content.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for everybody that came and hung out, and also, yeah, go to Patreon, exactly. And engage. It's always nice when people engage in the chat and have little hearts and stuff like that. It really does. It fills us up anyway, so it's nice to have a conversation.
It was really lovely hanging out with you.
Yeah. Have a great week.
You too. Bye.